If you've been watching me for a while, then you've heard me say time and time again that real estate is not get rich quick. Well, wholesaling kind of is. Hey, what's up? My name is Vena, Seattle real estate broker. The goal of today's video is to cover this lucrative thing called wholesaling that everyone's hearing about, how it's so easy and you can make 6 figures with no money down and buying and selling houses to other people, and there's no risk and it's gonna make you rich, right? Well, so what is wholesaling? What are the pros and cons, and how can you get started? Super excited. Hopefully I can clear things up for you guys. I personally love wholesaling. I've had quite a bit of experience in wholesaling, just starting to close my own deals personally. So I'm excited to share what I've learned and what my experience has been. And if you're new to my channel, I share all things real estate, from investing to becoming an agent to lifestyle and all kinds of fun stuff. So if that interests you, consider liking and subscribing and hitting that bell to get notified when I post new videos, because honestly, I'm really inconsistent with it right now, but I'm putting out good stuff and I want you guys to know. Anyways, thanks in advance. What is wholesaling? So I've been a real estate agent for 2 years. Starting when I was 18, I became really familiar with the sales processes, how to talk to people, scripts, working with buyers and sellers. And I think that really actually helped me quite a bit to get started and make a really smooth transition into wholesaling. And so I'm glad that I have that experience. And with that, I get to train my team and share with the younger audience best practices and things I've learned from my mistakes. So what is wholesaling? Wholesaling is contracting a home with the seller and then turning around and contracting it with the buyer at a higher price and keeping the difference. Basically, a seller needs to sell their home quickly or for cash or through a really easy process. So they sell their home below market value quickly, and then the wholesaler contracts the home with them, and then they sell that contract to the buyer at a higher price and keeps the difference, which is an assignment fee. As the wholesaler, you don't even physically buy the property. You basically sell the right to purchase the property to the buyer. For example, I find a seller who needs to move quickly. They agree to sell it to me for $350. I find a buyer who will buy it for $400. I sell them my contract for $50,000. I made $50,000 and everyone's happy. Seller got what they wanted, buyer got what they wanted, I got what I wanted. So typically these are sellers who are probably older, they've owned the house for a really long time and they really just need to move on. And so they sell it quickly at a low price, and then the wholesaler sells it to a flipper. Like 90% of the time, these houses are in poor condition. So we're gonna assign it to a flipper who's gonna fix it up and make their profit. Yes, these deals are out there, these sellers exist, you just have to find them. Think about it, you're 60 years old, you've had this rental property for 20 years, it's been doing great and the tenants have been great, but now the last tenant moved out and you just want your money out so you can go retire, but the tenants ruined the place, so you don't want to do the repairs, you don't want to have to get it ready for the market, you don't want 100 people walking through the house, you don't want to deal with offers, you want a quick sale. The property's already made you all this money in cash flow, you just want to get your equity and go. My job as the wholesaler is to find these properties by marketing to the sellers, whether it's letters, postcards, door knocking, cold calling, online ads. There's a bunch of ways. The point is to find the seller, get their motivation, find out why they're selling, get to the property and make them an offer. They're not all gonna say yes, they're not all gonna accept the offer. The funny thing is, at least in my experience, a good portion of the time, they'll reject my offer at first, but then they'll realize that my offer is a lot easier than what a real estate agent could get them on the market, and sometimes nets them the same money within like $5,000. So it's just easier to sell it in 2 weeks rather than put it on the market for a month, sift through offers, wait for the financing to go through. The point is, sometimes it's just easier to sell to a wholesaler. Not all the time, but it's a really huge benefit. So that's wholesaling, got it? All right, so those are the benefits to these potential sellers. What are the benefits to you as the wholesaler? Well, like I said, you don't need credit, you don't need money to start. All you need is hustle. And wholesaling really is a great way to make quick cash if you've got that hustle. If you're only taking 1 or 2 hours out of the week to find wholesale deals, you're not gonna find wholesale deals. You have to keep your skills sharp, you have to know your market, and you have to be committed to finding these deals and serving the needs of the sellers. At least for me, I believe in bad karma, so if you try to scam people, you're gonna get bit in the ass. That's all I'm gonna say on that. It personally took me about 3 months from really becoming dedicated to wholesaling to close my first deal. And keep in mind, I had that prior real estate experience. I've seen some people try for 6 months, 1 year to wholesale and never make a deal. I've seen people do it in 1 week. It does depend, but it's true that your result is dependent on how hard you work. Also, depending on the situation, wholesaling can be complicated. It's not all peaches and daisies and solving people's problems all the time. Sometimes sellers will yell at you. Sometimes they'll get frustrated. Sometimes there will be probate court or faulty tenants or really bad repairs. Sometimes you have to cut your profit, but that's to be expected, and usually it's worth it in the end. But just know that it's not completely 100% easy, and definitely check your state's laws. This is illegal in some states, I've heard. In Washington, where I am, it's completely fine and very popular. popular, so there's a lot of people around me doing this. But yeah, that's my disclaimer. So what's the process of wholesaling? In a nutshell, there are very few requirements to start wholesaling. Just about anyone can do it, but I would recommend finding yourself a mentor. I happened to meet someone at the gym who was very successful in wholesaling. My office is actually right next to the gym. They saw me, they basically saw me in there every day cold calling for my real estate deals to find listings. And they were like, hey, I see what you're doing. I'm actually a wholesaler. If you ever find properties, you know, I'm a cash buyer. So I basically created the relationship. He saw that I was a hustler and he showed me how to find these deals, how to negotiate, write the assignment contract, and we're making a lot of money together. Like I said, sometimes it's that easy, but it's really about providing value. Like I switched my cold calling to strictly finding wholesales. And so I would find the deal and we'd go through it together. It was a win-win-win-win-win situation. And then I joined a bunch of local investing groups on Facebook. I started going to real estate events and I met tons and tons of cool people and created lots of relationships with other investors. And then I joined the Springboard to Wealth group, which is headed up by Thach Nguyen, Mark Erickson, and Stephanie Owens, who are huge investors. Thach is basically a celebrity. And that community has been over the top awesome. It's a great community. Everyone is super generous and helpful, and it's been worth every penny. So I get questions on that. So the basic process of wholesaling, how do you go from A to Z, starting up to closing your first deal? I would say number one is finding a mentor. You don't absolutely need one, but I think it is going to be really helpful so that you don't make mistakes, especially because the laws and practices vary by state and market. But if you can't find one, do not get hung up on it. Just start marketing to sellers and finding motivated sellers. Once you find one, if it's a sweet deal, anyone in your local Facebook investing group is going to be interested in the deal and will want to help you to split the deal. So don't sweat it, just start this process. Number one, you're gonna learn how to talk to sellers. Understand that you're finding people to serve their needs. You're not looking to convince anyone to sell their home. We're not cold calling grandma and telling her that she needs to get out of her house because we're gonna give her a below market value offer, especially because grandma's son might be an agent and she don't need that cash offer. We are looking for the sellers who need to get out quick. They're behind on their mortgage. They're too old to deal with the market. Sometimes they hate realtors. They don't care about getting the highest price. They just want to get out. Especially as a licensed real estate broker, it's illegal for me to lie to these sellers and lie about what their house might be worth. So I never lie. I tell them. When I set the appointment and I go on it and I check out their house, I give them their options. I tell them, hey, you could list it for this or you could sell it to me for this and save on 9% of closing costs and realtor commissions and time. So where do you find these sellers? You're going to get a list from your local title company or an online service like PropStream, Property Radar. Those are the two big ones, at least in my market. You just email the title company. This is a lot easier for realtors. And sometimes they make you pay, but it's very, very, very cheap. You basically want to get a list of homes that are 20 years or older, single family, which basically weeds out condos and apartment complexes and buildings, owned for more than 10 years and in an area that you know really well. I would highly recommend starting out basically in your own neighborhood if that's the area you know best, because you want to be where you're comfortable and you're the expert. Sellers can usually tell if you know the area or not. You know, you're going to talk about the schools and what's nearby and, oh, my son went to that high school and went to this park and it's so close to this freeway. You want to relate to the seller and just be close, honestly. You don't want to drive all over hell. But yeah, you can also drive for dollars, which means driving around the neighborhoods and taking down properties. Skip tracing the owner's information, which just means put in the address and pay for the seller's phone number and property records. And then you hit them up. You start cold calling. You can use a dialer to cold call. You can go physically door knock these properties. You can send them postcards and handwritten letters. So far, the most effective ways for me have been cold calling and sending out postcards. I'll cold call. I use a script to cold call. I have it memorized. It's pretty effective. I have a whole video on my cold calling. Go check it out before you comment for my scripts. I'll tell you where to get them and how to practice them and everything in that video. And then you keep calling and you keep sending out postcards until you set appointments. That's the goal. You want to get inside these houses, you want to make them an offer, and they'll either say yes or no to your offer. If they reject your offer, on to the next. We'll follow up a couple times, so we're not going to chase these guys down if they don't want our price. You know, there's a certain point where we can't offer more. And our offer price is generated based on what the ARV is, which is the after repair value. We normally don't offer more than 80% of the after repair value because there's no room there for the flipper that we sell it to make profit. So once our seller says yes to our offer, we have the purchase and sale agreement, it's all signed. We start marketing to buyers. I just post mine in the investing group on Facebook. If you're in Washington, it's called WARI, Washington Real Estate Investing. Pretty simple. You can literally look my name up in that group and see that my posts are in there from the houses I've wholesaled. You basically put it up on there and you start sending out the information to the people who are interested. In my experience, I would get anywhere from 30 to 60 responses and end up physically showing it to 2 to 5 people after I've received their proof of funds to know that they can actually buy the property and that they're serious. So I bought the property property from the seller at a certain price, and I start marketing to buyers at a higher price. Once I find the buyer, and I sell it to the first person willing to pay my price. If it gets bid up, it gets bid up. Sometimes we'll have to reduce our price. Kind of depends on the property and if we did our math right. But yeah, once we find this buyer, I sell the purchase and sale agreement to the buyer with an assignment contract, which basically says that the buyer is purchasing this purchase and sale agreement for this fee. They're gonna see what the fee is, they're gonna see how much I put the property under contract for, but I have had no problems with this, and they have had no problems because there's still room for their flipping profit. So we lined up the buyer and the seller. The buyer is gonna send their funds to escrow. Escrow is going to pay the seller, and they're gonna cut me a check. This process can take as little as a week, up to a month. Like I said, it depends on what's going on. If there are legal proceedings that had to be had with the seller, it's gonna take longer, but it really can be that straightforward. The most recent wholesale I did was here in Federal Way, Washington. I put the property under contract with the seller for $355. It's a nice old man, he's moving to Arkansas. He just wants to get his cash and move down there. The after repair value, ARV, is $525, so when it's all brand new, it'll be worth $525. And so I started marketing the property for sale at $405,000. I didn't get much bite on this, so I reduced to $395 and I found a buyer. We closed and it was a $40,000 assignment fee. Not a bad stud fee. So yeah, pretty simple process. Best practices for getting started are to start educating yourself on this, join those Facebook groups. A lot of people will post their experiences, which is really good reading material because it's based on your market. Start memorizing your scripts and get those lists together so you can start getting out to these sellers. You know, it's really, prospecting is a numbers game. You have to talk to this many people to set this many appointments, to get these many people to agree to your price, to get these many people to actually sign the contract, to find this many buyers and get paid. But just stick with it, decide how many hours a day you're gonna dedicate to this, and get with that plan. Check out my other videos on wholesaling, and I'll have a lot more videos in the future about this, getting more in depth about how to work the numbers, the deals I've done, and the process from A to Z, and my processes for finding and negotiating deals, and much, much more. You know, wholesalers have a bad rep. We're known for lying to people about their home value and scamming little old ladies out of their homes. That is not our job. Our job is to find the people who need help and solve the problem. I believe what goes around comes around, so if you do good, you'll get good. And if you end up being unethical, it's just gonna bite you in the ass. So that's Wholesaling 101. Let me know what questions you have in the comments. And you can check out my Instagram. I'm always posting the deals I do on there. As I'm doing them, the complications, the success stories, the whole shebang. Reach out to me there. I try my best to get to all the DMs. But honestly, if you leave a comment on YouTube, I'm gonna see it a lot easier. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.